What is trauma dumping or toxic venting? And is it rude or inappropriate to just basically just unload all your problems on someone? And so here's what I would say for to keep in mind for anyone would be emotional boundaries. So just being aware of your own emotions, but just remember those aren't the that's not the only emotion you should be thinking about. Other people's emotional state. So maybe it's not a good time for them. You don't know what's going on in their life, and maybe it's not appropriate to just call and just start dumping all your problems and crying. That could cause that friend to feel really overwhelmed, and maybe they're not in a good place to say no to you, and they just keep listening, and then it makes them resentful. Here's what I do. If I have a problem and I want to just totally, sometimes just have a bitch fest, and I'm not really looking for an opinion or feedback, I just really want someone to hear me out on something, and it's a good sister or a friend that I just want to call, I will ask them. I will text them and ask them when a good time is to have a dump, like to just unload and have a conversation. And usually my sister says, on my way home from work, she's on the way home from the prison, and it's a couple-hour drive, and she's just got nothing but time to, and she's like, I want to tell you about something too. So we have a scheduled time for that. I typically don't just randomly call anyone and then expect them to answer and then expect them to hear about a problem. I give them notification in advance, and usually 24 or 48 hours, I ask my friends if they want to go for a walk, and we schedule it, and then we both share things back and forth, and we go for a walk, like a 3-mile walk, and we have, at least an hour of time spent with each other. And that is the reciprocity of a healthy relationship. I'm not expecting them to just always be there for me, and vice versa. So I would say that if you have someone who's constantly calling you and unloading, and they're always having a problem, let's just say, for example, they're dating someone who's always a problem, like their partner's cheating or there's something dramatic going on all the time, and they're calling you every night to tell you about it, you will become resentful. Trust me. So make sure you set boundaries with them and say, first of all, you never have to answer the phone. I'm not sure why people feel obligated to answer the phone, but I would never answer the phone if I'm not available to talk or I don't want to talk. My phone is off all the time, and everyone is scheduled. Even the people I love the mostest, we schedule time to have a video chat, and I'm 100% available, and I'll have a full hour with them or a full weekend with them. And so I think that if you're in a place in your life where you're just that impulsive that you just have to, bam, you're in an emotional state and you just grab the phone and call someone, then you're not being respectful to other people's boundaries. Now, I'm totally aware we all have emergencies, and I've had my own and people that I love or neighbors, and they can call me and usually give me a heads up, like, hey, it's emergency. I'm in a crisis, call me. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. But if that was happening so frequently, then that's a problem. Typically, I'm a psychologist, and a lot of times when people come to see me, I say, who do you have in your life that you can talk to? For example, I said that to a man today for a therapy session. It's a short-term disability client, and he said, like, he actually didn't have anyone besides his mom. And that's not uncommon. And what we want to do is build up a social network of other people who can be emotionally available to talk to him about deep things besides just one person, whether it's your mom, or you want to have more than one person. And so that's what led him to seek therapy, was because mom's gonna, like, calling mom 10 times a day, calling mom every day, calling mom being the only one the last 10 years, that can put a lot of pressure on that person. And so if you look at your social network, you want to have more than one person that you talk to. And if you don't, like you just have one parent or one sibling and you have no one else, then you may think of expanding your social network. Like myself, I signed up for tennis lessons and I was like, met some new people, joined a different gym. Or, you know, attend, there's so many different ways you can like gain new acquaintances, and maybe you meet someone that is somebody that you're really fond of and you share a lot of things in common, and that could be another person that you end up being close with. So I say all these things because I worked in the psych hospital for over 4 years, and I saw thousands of patients who wanted to end their lives. And here's what I learned, is that the people that were the closest to doing that and were the most desperate or the most high risk is that they didn't have anybody really deeply close in their life. So, or they had not, like the number one preventative risk factor for ending your life would be having a deep interpersonal connection with another human. And the more connections you have with others, that's more protective factors. So you're not at a good place emotionally and mentally if you're frantically grabbing the phone and having a trauma dumping session with someone frequently. That means it's probably time to sign up for a therapist or really take a look at your emotional boundaries and time boundaries. Make sure you're really considerate to other people's time. I'm a psychologist, and people book me and pay in advance, and that's how we have time together that's meaningful. It's not a frantic last minute thing. If anybody does have an emergency, it's something we schedule, a face-to-face session. And so I do think probably one of the most like wearing things on a relationship is people that are constantly demanding something from another person. I know in my dating life, I dated someone who constantly demanded attention and responses for himself all the time for his emotional state, but it had little awareness about me and how my day was, or the fact that I even worked or had stress. Like, it only wanted someone to listen and understand him, but failed to take in like the reciprocity of the other person. So that's the biggest way to burn someone out, and it will usually end up being there'll be some resentment, or at some point the one person is going to say, no, I don't have time for this right now, or I can't take this call. And sometimes when that happens, the other person can just say, just accuse them of all these things. They're not being emotionally available. They're not there for them. And then that person is not respecting you, not respecting your time, right? And you need to set boundaries. So the biggest takeaway here would be, if you're trauma dumping and venting on someone frequently, then that's not healthy. And I would consider scheduling like specific time with a therapist, that you have that space and time, and leave your friend relationships for just being friends, or like my sister's relationships, we just do sister stuff. It doesn't always have to be about problems. Like, you want to have healthy boundaries, right? And the biggest red flag I see is people with their partners, like their husband. They tell their husband all their problems, but then like, let's save that for someone else. And that's the benefits of having a therapist. So that's it for trauma dumping. Don't dump all your shit on someone.